Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop Flosstube, and I'm excited to show you today how you can combine cross stitch and sewing. You're going to make a cross stitch band. You put cross stitch on the front, you put a backing on the fabric, add some interfacing, and we're going to sew in this ribbon, and you're going to have a nice finished touch for your home. It's going to be super easy, so let's get started. The supplies we're using today are, of course, our cross stitch piece. You can use any piece for it though. Rectangular is better. And our pattern, this is the pattern we used. It's called Hello Summer, and it is so cute. We also have a scrap fabric that we're going to use for the backing, and we just picked one that would match our ribbon. So you're not going to really see this, but of course we still want it to look nice. We're using a sew-in interfacing by Lori Holt. When you're using the interfacing, it's going to really give your project a stiffness and help it really hold up on the bucket. Just make sure whatever interfacing you get is not fusible. This is the ribbon that we're going to sew in. You just want it to be thick enough so that it will attach to the bucket somewhat. If it's too thin, it might be too flimsy and fall down. We're going to use Stitch Witchery to fold back any of the raw edges on the ribbon. This one is very optional. We're going to have basic sewing supplies like pins, wonder clips, scissors, rotary cutter, and we have matching navy thread and just some hand needles to sew the bottom closed when our band is finished. And of course you're going to need a bucket. We just got a general bucket from Hobby Lobby, and super cute, and you can get like little wreaths if you want to put on the top, or you can even have flowers coming out of it, and you just match whatever decor you want to your piece. So let's jump right in. So from here we're going to just put this on the bucket. So I would recommend having your bucket ready before you start, and you can just see how you want your band to look, like how much you want to show. Do you want a lot of Aida around the edge or just a little bit? And when I'm looking at this, that looks good, but it is a little fat. So I'm going to go a little bit lower and just a tiny bit lower. And that's about what I want to show. So I'll just put this aside, and I'm just going to put some creases in. And I'm going to iron them out in a second. And I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam, so I want to add a 1/4 inch to that fold. So I'm doing this super unscientific today, and I've got my fold right here. I want to cut about a 1/4 inch away from that. So I'm just going to put my 1/4 inch on my Creative Grits ruler right on that fold, but then I want it to be straight with the words, and it doesn't look like it is. So I'm going to line up this one of the lines on the ruler with the words, and now it's looking straight. Just ignore this because you don't want to get this in there. This does not need to be straight. So this across here is straight. So I'm going to cut, and when I sew the backing, you're going to see about that much because that's going to be your seam. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And again, this fold is not straight, so I just take this out, and I can just go from the bottom of the cone, one of the ice cream cones, put this here, and of course that's not straight. So I'm just going to find some lines on the Aida, and I can make sure it's straight up here also. I can actually put it right there, so I know it's straight at the top. It looks straight here, and I'm going to cut. Now from here, that's looking really good. Just remember, you will have about a 1/4 inch off. Now from here, I really want to see that ribbon coming out. So I don't want too much blue over here, because if I have too much blue, your ribbon is not going to really show, because this is kind of a wide rectangle. So I think that will look really nice. So I'll kind of just put some creases here, and then I'll count the stitches. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So about 8 stitches away plus a 1/4 inch. So that's about right there. And I'm going to measure to make sure this line is straight, this looks straight, and this looks straight before I cut. And so you can see I am just kind of going from the design, and this is about 7/8 of an inch, so I'm going to do about that over here from the edge of the design. Just about the same distance here as here. And that's going to look really nice on the bucket. You can just kind of imagine your seam. And we can iron all these little creases I'm making out after we finish. So from here, what I would like to do is just take your scrap fabric that you're going to use on the back. We're going to use this, and we're also going to use this interfacing. So I'm going to cut some interfacing off really quick, and we'll iron all of this in a second. But what I'm trying to do here is just get my interfacing piece and my backing piece about the same size as my cross stitch piece. So I'm actually going to cut these, and then we'll go from where we're going to actually place it. It doesn't have to be exact, but just kind of getting them all the same size. And you can see I'm not going from a measurement, I'm just going for the look, which is, you know, in cross stitch is pretty different than quilting. And we're about halfway done. You'll see this is a pretty quick project. So I'm gonna take my bucket, and you can guesstimate here how much ribbon you need, but we're gonna kind of start it on the side, go across the back, and I'm gonna make a bow. So I want maybe about 1 yard. And just remember, you've got to cut 2 of these. So I'm just gonna cut across, and I'm gonna cut another piece. I'd rather cut this bigger rather than shorter, just in case I need a little bit more. And anything excess that you use, of course, you can reuse on another project. So this is looking pretty cute. I'll put these aside. So we'll take our stitched piece right side up. You're gonna take your ribbon, and we're gonna have to flip this right side out, so you need all this to hide. So I'm gonna roll this ribbon as tight as I can to keep it out of the way. Maybe I probably cut a little bit too much ribbon, but it'll be okay the way I'm doing it. And I'm gonna put a wonder clip on it just so it stays together. And I'm gonna place it about right there. Well, I'll do a little bit more. Place it here. So I'm gonna do the other one next, and then I'll show you how I'm gonna attach it. So I'm going to put this one in here. I don't want it too close to the edge because you want room for your presser foot to move. So I'm going to actually make lines of where to put it so they're even on the left and the right, and I kind of want it in the center. So I'll find the center of my piece, find the center of your ribbon, and put the centers together. Now here, you can put a tiny bit of glue to help it stay in place. And I'm just using Sew-Line glue, and it is fabric safe. And you've got your center here. Take your center here, and this ribbon doesn't have a right or a wrong side. Add a little glue. It'll just kind of keep it, and then you'll see that these are straight across, because you don't want one ribbon up here and one down here. From here, we're gonna put the fabric, but that's on the back, right side down, and we're gonna put this interfacing here. Remember, this is not fusible, and this is gonna give it a really nice stiffness. From here, the trick is do all 4 corners first by just getting all 3 of those layers together and put a wonder clip. I'm not gonna use pins per se, sewing pins, just because you're working with Aida cloth or linen and you don't want your cross stitch fabric to ravel. So just first do your corners. And the only reason it's bulky is you've got that ribbon in there, but that ribbon is gonna give it a really pretty nice touch. And this is gonna be such a cute project. I can't wait to see how it looks. Now from here, you've got the glue so it stayed in place, which is really nice. Just get everything right to the edge and put a pin right there. Do the same thing on the other side. And I'm really happy that my ribbon is staying in place. And then on this side, we can just do one in the center and then another one in the center. What we're going to do is take a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're going to use a medium gray thread, and we're going to stitch with a 1/4 inch seam all the way around, starting at the bottom, and we're going to leave about this much open, which is about 3 or 4 inches. And when we start our stitching and stop our stitching, we're going to back stitch. Just adjust with your hand as you go. I have my machine on a 2.0 stitch length, and I'm just going to start sewing and back stitch at the beginning and ending. When I get to the corner, I'm going to pivot at about a 1/4 inch seam, and the way you know is when you pivot, if you're in the same position, you know you're a 1/4 inch away. If you're new to sewing, you can mark a 1/4 inch away from each corner to know where to stop. Now before I turn this right side out, where my ribbon is, I'm going to do another layer of stitches on top, just so it's nice and secure since it is thicker. And this is just totally optional. Before I turn this right side out, I'm going to cut a little bit of a corner off. So from each corner, I am going to clip off a little triangle. It's going to make it nice and easier. Once I get that triangle clipped off, I'm also going to cut a little slice right here. It's just going to make it slightly thinner, and that is going to turn nicer because you're going to have less bulk. Just be careful you don't get too close to the stitches. From here, you'll just kind of turn it right side out, just being gentle. I mean, you're working with Ada, so just don't push too hard. And with this corner, you can just push with your finger. So I just poke the corners with my fingers to start. You can use a point turner. I find that they're a little bit dangerous for me because I end up poking holes. So I try not to use point turners. If you're comfortable with them, you definitely should. But that looks totally fine to me. And that green is going to look really nice because it almost matches the ribbon. So just kind of clean up each corner. Just take your time. So from here, we're going to get our iron so that we can make all of this really nice and neat. And from here, we can actually take our little wonder clips off, and we're almost done. So from here, I am just going to make it really nice and flat so you don't see that green on the back. And just go around my edge and just iron it nice and flat. You can leave the steam on or off. It really doesn't matter, whatever you prefer, whatever you're used to. And it's just going to give it a really nice touch. Now from the bottom, there's two options I'm going to give you. You can sew it closed with a matching navy RFL thread, which is a 50 weight. You will want to use something that's thinner rather than thicker. So if you're at a sewing store, I wouldn't get polyester. That's going to be too thick. Your stitches are going to show too much. So a 100% cotton, nice thin thread would work great. And you can just use some hand needles. But since we are a cross stitch channel, and I know a lot of you might not know how to hand sew, we're going to do a little trick here. The first thing we're going to do is just make sure this is nice and even, and press it down and just get it to where you like it. And that looks pretty good. It looks pretty straight. We also have a quilting channel, which is called Just Fat Quarter Shop, and I have lots of videos that I can link below where I show hand stitching. But for all of you cross stitchers, this product is amazing. It's called Stitch Witchery, and we have it linked below. It comes in 2 sizes, and the size that I prefer for this project is one of the smaller sizes. Now, when you open it, it kind of goes a little crazy. So what you'll do is just take this off, keep it really far away from your iron because you don't want it to start going, and just cut a piece. I'm actually going to cut 2 pieces. You just got to be really careful with this. Now, what I do at home, because this will last me years and years, so I just put a little pin in the end and just store it just like that in my drawer. Now from here, keep it away from the iron. I'm just gonna put one, you want it to be nice and flat also, so I'm gonna put it nice and flat. You can hardly see it right there, so it's away from the seam. And then I'm gonna put another piece right on the seam, but make sure it doesn't come out of your seam or it's going to get on your iron. So from here, you just iron it. I would say 10 seconds. So now we can put this on our bucket, and look, it's not gonna open up. It's nice and closed. So we're just gonna put this on the bucket, and it'll move around so you can slide it. So I'm gonna just go to the back, and I'm gonna just do a bow. And none of this is gonna be glued down or anything, so you've got a lot of wiggle room. And you can move it around on the front and the side after. So just put a little bow. There's a couple things you can do here. You can cut it straight, and when you cut it straight, you can fold it down and put stitch witchery. Or I'm just gonna cut it at a diagonal, and it's gonna look nice and pretty. So that's 2 ways you can finish your ribbon, and this is a nice quality ribbon, so it is not going to fray. We hope you've enjoyed this cross-stitch band. You can put it on a bucket, a banner, lots of different things. You can even put it on a wood plaque. And you can always add stuff to the top. We put a little wreath in here. You could have flowers coming out. So this is one finish. And I also wanted to show you my friend Priscilla from Stitching with the Housewives also did this finish. So we've got 2 finishes for you. We're gonna link to her blog with all the information, and you've got lots of options to finish your Hello Summer pattern from It's So Emma. Definitely subscribe to our channel for more cross stitch ideas, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.